Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. Taurus in the zodiac is said to be a fixed earth sign. I don't think of fixed as being totally still, because everything in life is moving and growing and changing all the time. But Taurus is the slow growth of grass and trees, steady, the earth itself dependable. So a new moon in Taurus is very much about us becoming grounded and aware of the practicalities of life, appreciating our body, appreciating growing things, nature. This year, though, the new moon in Taurus is very close to Uranus, also in Taurus, just 3 degrees apart. And Uranus is about change, sudden, unexpected, different ideas, different ways of being. So this year, this new moon is not about leaning on what feels comfortable. It's not about comfort. It's about recognizing what really is on the practical level. And because it is unknown, uncertain, and keeps changing, it's as though there is no steady place in the outside to put your feet for grounding. Just the earth itself and the moment that we're living in. This is very much a call to live in the moment, to accept what is, to let go of hopes, fears, any expectations, definitely old habits. Let them go. And what I find is that it's easier letting go of something if I just accept how things are. Holding on is an attempt to hold off what is, to prevent change, and change is the truth of life. Holding on to anything, trying to keep it the same, even hoping that after all the changes we can go back to how things were, all of this keeps us away from being able to adapt to the changes that are happening. This month it's not really going to be comfortable. The new moon and Uranus are at right angles to Saturn. Saturn is having a few months in Aquarius before returning to Capricorn later in the year for another brief spell. In December, Saturn will be into Aquarius for the following 2 years. So this is a kind of experimental feeling of what the next 2 years will be bringing, but not fixed. And this is perhaps a really good place to keep that sense of adapting and allowing things to unfold, so that whatever seems to be going into place now is like an experiment. There will be people who want to keep things the same, like some of the rules we're needing to obey right now with lockdown and social distancing. But if we can regard all of these changes as a temporary solution to a problem of the moment, we can go along with how things are without fearing they will last forever. We don't know about the future. In the meantime, Venus and Mars have this lovely link, the trine connection, both in air signs. The Aquarius Mars, the energy of the electricity, which we can use for our advantage at the moment with the internet, virtual meetings of large numbers of people, video conferencing, video calls to family and friends. The Venus in Gemini, a lot to say, a lot of communication, lots of little communications here and there, reconnecting with old friends that you have let slip, checking on all those people you love to to make sure they're okay. The amount of connecting is lovely, and it's adapting to these new possibilities that enables it. A couple of days after this new moon, Pluto begins to retrograde for the next few months. Every year, all the outer planets appear to retrograde while the Earth overtakes them, and Pluto begins on the 25th of April, which points to this month as being the beginning of going over again where we have been. The ground is being overturned. It's like digging a field, ploughing the furrows, coming back to plough it again. The full moon, opposite the Sun in Taurus, will be of course in Scorpio, the depths of the emotions. All that which is going on under the surfaces. And the moon is where we are linked quite unconsciously. It's the wholeness of humanity. There's a beautiful connection to Neptune, who obviously then connects to the Sun, and there's Mercury with the Sun. This is our consciousness, aware of our connection to the Earth. Very much in touch with the sufferings of people, always bearing in mind that suffering is our resistance to what is. One can be hurt, one can be in pain, without suffering from it. I guess it generally takes time to get to the point of being able to do that. Feel the pains, the sorrows, the losses, and let the feelings flow. Until we accept those feelings, there is likely to be suffering, and in accepting them they can flow through like a great river, connecting us with the rest of humanity. The suffering is what separates us from others. Venus will have moved very close to the North Node, and the nodes have shifted for this second half of the month, no longer aiming towards the family and nurturing and holding in, but really focused on the communication now. Then there is a time that I find very interesting. It's from the 11th of May, the 11th, 13th, 14th, that little period in May, we have a number of planets retrograding. Saturn first, then Venus, and then Jupiter. And at the same time, Mars reaches the end of Aquarius and goes into Pisces. So it looks to me as though the middle of May and for the last week of this cycle, there is a backtracking of some kind. Now usually the energies of the planets are represented by events in the world and in each of our lives. They're not always strikingly obvious. At the moment things do tend to be, and perhaps with the Sun and Mercury being in Taurus, effects are more noticeable. My feeling about Jupiter retrograde, which he is for 4 months every year, is always that it's an opportunity to put on the back burner the things we've been working so hard on. And I'm imagining that what plans we may have, or what we have been thinking, well, now that I have this inner perspective because of being socially distancing, and I could do this and I could do that, and all sorts of other potential plans for the future come into place, that we have to put all of that on hold for some reason. And again pay attention to the unfolding circumstances of life. With Pluto already retrograde and Saturn and Jupiter joining in, It looks like a huge rethinking. Venus will be retrograde for 6 weeks, and generally this is a time for re-examining our relationships. In Gemini, it's very much about how we communicate, what we think, and talking about how the relationships are and how they are going to be. The Mars moving into Pisces at the same time shows that whatever it is that's happening, we will be very sensitive to it and very sensitive to how everyone feels. This sensitivity is really important because only with that are we able to provide what is really needed by people who are going through experiences. But the important thing personally for ourselves is not to take everything in personally and let it be there as though it belongs to us. We each have our own lives to feel for and to feel within, and we need our energy for our own lives. The sensitivity to everyone else is so that our actions can be appropriate, even as we take care of ourselves, that we are sensitive to how that affects others as well. My feeling about this month is that we are all in a very strange position, and it's difficult to actually get to grips with what's required while things are so strange. By the new moon in May, I think we will be better able to get to grips with what the changes are bringing about. So hang in there. Find out as much as you can about yourself. Practice with the internet. Let go of clutter. Ground yourself in your own body and your own practice. Use this time for becoming ready to come out when it's appropriate. Be aware of the light. Warm your heart at the fire of your unfulfilled desires. Wash your soul clean with the tears of your losses. We feel for your suffering and hold your hands. And we assure you that all this is a clearing of atmosphere that nothing else could have accomplished. Your earth is clearing. She turns in her sleep. She stretches and will recompose herself in a new position. Those of you who are surviving now will be ready for the newness to come. Those who are not surviving now would have suffered much more in the future. They gather with others in the wings to await your need, and they will come close to help you then. There is no loss in reality, only movement from one state to another. You will all follow them in your turn, you know this, but you have more work to do first. We offer this with such love.